Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Edward Elgar. It's one of the series of very high quality books that this independent publisher produces. It's primarily for the academic market, but as practitioners we find a lot of the work extremely helpful as well, just to keep up to date with what is happening. This particular book that we're looking at has got the title Corporate Social Responsibility, Private Law and Global Supply Chain. So it's a bit of a mouthful, the title, but you can see where we're coming from. It's CSR, which is the abbreviation, which you'll hear throughout. Corporate Social Responsibility. Very much a view which is current at the moment as I record this, in the middle of 2015. The book's been written by Andreas Ruhmkorf, and as I say, it's part of the Edward Elgar stable of books, and it's part of their Corporations, Globalisation and the Law series. The book's available as a book and an eBook, and it's also electronically available on Elgaronline, and all the information is in our review, which is on the web and in the journals. Elizabeth and I talked about the book, and we've given it a title for our review of this work: a high-level discussion on the role of business in society, of great interest to all corporate lawyers and corporate social responsibility. So you can see that the corporate lawyer who's clear about the views he or she might have on CSR will find this, I think, very helpful. We'll talk about the book in a minute. Let's just have a quick look at it. There's the front cover. It's a hardback book. There we go, spine, and then the back. There's some quotes on the back, a little bit of information, and a very small amount of information about the author. The book runs to something approaching under 300 pages, 270, something like that. There's the intro, the index at the back, and then after the index you've got a bibliography, which is quite interesting. A huge amount of work gone into this, of course, as usual. The bibliography itself, books and book chapters, is how it's structured. Again, very helpful if you're doing research in this area of law. You can see the structure, but there's a nice conclusion at the back. This is quite much the house style of Elgar. They do actually have a nice conclusion, so there's a proper structure throughout. You get a few little footnotes, and you do get subheadings and so forth. You can see again, the role of law itself is discussed right at the back there. You've got, as I say, quite a lot of footnoting, but you have got subheads. You haven't got paragraph numbering in this particular publication. Right, there's the series of books from Elgar listed there, and there's the front page of the book. There are 7 chapters in total, you can see. Do have a look at the preface at the beginning, which sets out where this has come from. You can see the background where Andreas comes from when he's writing this book. And then you've got abbreviations, very helpful. European law listed as well, cases, UK cases, some American cases, then the legislation. Again, it's slightly differently structured from what we would normally expect to see. And then you get into the introduction right at the beginning and the main work itself. I thought it was a very interesting book, and something that will make one think of where we're going, certainly with CSR in the future, because corporate social responsibility, it's a political issue as much as a legal issue, frankly, in my opinion. But I think at the same time, there's a high-level discussion which takes place of this, and from a legal point of view is very interesting. Now, this is what we say. What a welcome and insightful book post the Companies Act 2006 this is. So it's really is a very welcoming book. The subject matter has been described as demonstrating that private law makes a significant contribution to the promotion of corporate social responsibility, CSR, which is emerging as an important objective for the immediate future. As I say, I'm recording this middle of 2015. I think this subject has got some way to run, because you can see that it is loaded with a bit of politics, but of course there is a lot more to it than just that. The book's author, Andreas Ruhmkorf, adds that with certain changes this contribution could of course be much, much better, and his statement, which is part of Elgar's Corporations, Globalisation and the Law series of corporate legal texts, I think is pretty spot on this. The text is based on an on an analysis, and get that word out in a minute, of 4 substantive areas depending on how we classify them today legally, because as you know, each law publisher has a different way of classifying law, but I'm going to use the words that I think we're familiar with. So the first is company law stroke corporate governance, then contract law, consumer law, and then finally the law of torts. And I'm calling them the law of torts rather than tort, being tortious liability, so they're the specific torts I'm talking about, such as negligence. The author's aim is to cover a full range of issues that are important for CSR, and they include an in-depth discussion and evaluation of directors' duties, corporate reporting, and an incorporation of CSR policies into the supply chain, also covering consumer rights and tortious liabilities of companies. Again, all very important and very much the substantive law areas, core subjects that we have to do for our examinations. And I think this book will be of use and certainly interest to the academic community as much as it would be of interest to the practitioner. The current discussions and legal views surrounding social responsibility has, in the view of some commentators, neglected to understand in detail the important role of national private law in achieving socially responsible conduct in business. Don't be confused here with ethics. We're talking about responsibility. This important new study on CSR demonstrates as best it can how private law can make a significant contribution to the promotion of CSR and how it could possibly be improved. And Ruhmkorf's treatise discerns how national private law in the home state of multinational enterprises can legally affect their social responsibility conduct worldwide. Well, I hope that isn't just a dream, because I sometimes wonder, but I do think that that's what he's trying to identify and put forward. He demonstrates that private law already promotes and, with certain amendments, could better promote CSR in the regulation of global supply chains. And the book's findings are applied, for example, to the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh, which offers what the author describes as a supportive empirical insight. And of course there will be other big examples too, not just now but probably in the future. As I speak, we hear of a number of these sorts of problems that do unfortunately occur. Let me conclude by saying it's a most up-to-date and comprehensive survey of CSR and global supply chains to date, and we think it will benefit both legal researchers and practitioners interested in the field of CSR itself, and also private law, international law, political economy, international labour standards, and sustainable supply chains. And the book is an important addition, in our view, to the Corporate Lawyers Library for 2015. So thank you to Elgar and Andreas for a good book, very interesting book. There it is again, hardback, as I say, spine and the back. It's a light book. Let's go in right in the middle. Contract law, global supply chains and CSR. Right, hitting you right in the middle there. Under what circumstances can CSR policies become enforceable? Are enforceable contractual terms? That's a big question. I often think when I'm practicing contract cases, I just wonder about the enforceability of some of them and the somewhat arbitrary way in which public policy comes in. But there we go. Thank you very much to all concerned. It's an excellent book, and it's well worth a good read. It's not difficult to read either. Thank you. Bye-bye.